Van Wyck? Thank you. And Franco? Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you for having us here.
Good afternoon, members of the Selection Committee. We're going to talk with you this evening about two governmental innovations. One is the responsibility that the Flood Control District.
I'm trying to understand the dates and when you actually did this. It looks like you got the idea in 1989. The reason I'm asking this, which goes towards the question of innovation, is that you stated that there wasn't anything like this. You looked early on and you couldn't find. I know that in my city we definitely were designing a park when I left a couple years ago, and my assumption is if there were not any examples when you started, then we were probably looking at what you had done, right? Looking at what you had done. Have there been other cities since that time who have looked at what you've done and have replicated this example in their cities?
We've had a number of different cities contact us, talk about the concept of accessibility and usability, and told them how we go about creating usability for the park site for the disabled. And but prior to that time, the challenge was actually made to the agency in 1991. The park site was opened then in 1995.
1995, okay. And because of that, just one quick follow-up, David. The other part, are you now moving to do this in all parks? Or not you, because you're the flood control district, and I recognize that. But what interested me was the concept that this is a concept that should be adopted, and I wondered if it was being adopted in other parks in the city that were not designed specifically for disabled.
Yeah, there are a number of basin sites that we are developing right now that we're using the same concepts. The concept at Oso de Oro is early California history. That's the motif of the park project. We're also developing another park project called Trolley Creek Park that will have early Fresno history. Here again, though, we're using the same concepts. Rather than children crossing over after they leave the sidewalk and going through either a sand bed or different types of fiber to get to the swings, you have to have a certain distance between your walk area and the playground equipment. Those are certification requirements for recreation features. And so what we use is rubber matting. We also use textural sorts of things for people that are disabled so that they can have the sense of moving throughout the park site.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Shore.
I'm curious about both what you consider the core elements of what you've done here and what the community considers the core elements. And is that a good match?
Yeah, I think it is. What we've done here, again, is just introduced a concept. We've gone what we consider as being way beyond accessibility. When we first opened the park site, and if you can visualize a community of about 200 square miles and made up of a number of these different basin sites, we had the mayor of the two cities that we provide services to, the Board of Supervisors and other credible groups, talk to us about developing these types of park sites in the four quadrants of the community. And as I'd mentioned earlier, we're working on the second one right now. They don't come as fast as we would like to just because of the creativity and the resources that are needed for them as well. But I would tell you that the state of California has given the Flood Control District an extreme amount of resources to construct these park sites. Trolley Creek Park is going to be done with probably about 90% state and federal money through the Land and Water Conservation Program, and then various parks projects that are available through the state of California.
And on the community portion of that, Oso de Oro was one of the 3 projects that was taken back to Louisville, Kentucky in the year 2000 for the All-America program. Fresno came back with the All-America Award.
Bill Klinger.
help me on the innovation part of this. I mean, I think that, are you saying that the innovation is really the really creative things you're doing in terms of playground design and development, or is it rather the fact that you're now making a use of basins which otherwise might not be as useful? But if it's the latter, then I have a problem with the replicability of it, because not every Fresno is unique in the sense that it has 150 basins, and it might be difficult to find comparable land available in other areas. So I guess the question is, what is the innovation?
It's a good question, and it is one that I considered before I came up here today, so I appreciate you asking it.
I'm a shill, yeah.
The idea of multiple uses to provide public benefit, once the government has made an investment into whatever might be a piece of land, a structure, or whatever your imagination can come up with. The idea of using that for as many different types of public benefit, we applaud communities that do that, and certainly we feel that that is one of the innovations, certainly of the flood control district of the community. However, what we're really here to talk with you about today is to encourage communities to develop park sites that go way beyond the accessibility that's required under law. We'd like to see them sit down and talk with people that are in their community that have these special needs. It's only through those sorts of discussions that we realized that we weren't providing the types of needs that were needed in our community, and we don't think we're unique in that regard. We think that that is happening around the rest of the country as well.
So I want to follow up on Bill Klinger's question and on how to evaluate the innovative quality of this. If there are states which have laws on access, and many do, I gather, you've gone beyond by engaging in dialogue with the affected communities, but you're also telling us others are doing that. So how do we distinguish this from other programs going on around the country that are providing access to the handicapped children?
We hope that other communities are doing that. We see a number of them that come to visit Oso de Oro, and we send out a number of different plans and specifications of the park site that we developed. All those are as construction drawings at this point. What we hope to be able to develop in the not too distant future is the concepts that we've put together so that other communities can begin providing the services to that portion of the population that up until that point, I can tell you that prior to 1995, I felt as though, or after 1995, after seeing the response that we have from the community, that I'm not so sure that we were providing the level of service. I feel we are now.
I know, I was very thrilled to hear about what you were doing, because we started programs such as this in Maryland, and we had a state law that now we're starting, and we have already built a number of parks that are handicap accessible in the ways that you've described. So I think you really launched something very important.
Good, thank you.
Good. Susan, last question.
What I asked you originally, because I don't think I quite got the answer, or at least I'm going to try again. And
I've been accused of that before.
Well,
so.
no. One of the things that interested me at the end of your presentation was the implication that rather than building, with everything you've learned and you're replicating additional parks, were you implying that now just building a park, you now had innovative standards that would be part of any park, not necessarily a park, quote unquote, for the disabled, but the incorporation of those elements in just regular parks so that everyone would have access to them? I thought that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm saying that to a certain extent.
Okay,
it's going to depend on resources, and again, we really encourage those that are involved in parks development in their communities to sit down and talk with these people, identify, what are the barriers? You could have a different type of disabled population base than we have. Certainly the resources that we have available to us are different than other communities. And so the replication is really just the concept.
Do you believe you were the first to do this?
Based on the information that we have put together up to this point, we have not found anyone that has taken it to the level that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen, I think that concludes our questioning. Thank you very much for your appearance.